yours. Thank you so much, Lady Tola. Our next speaker is Dr. Oreoluwa Finnih Awokoya. She is a seasoned leader in healthcare and sustainable development, with over 20 years of experience in public health advocacy and policy implementation. A graduate of the College of Medicine, University of Lagos, where she earned her Bachelor of Dental Surgery. She further refined her expertise with an executive MBA from Lagos Business School, IESE Spain, and certifications from institutions like Harvard Medical School. As the Senior Special Assistant to the Lagos State Governor on Health, Dr. Finnih Awokoya was instrumental in improving healthcare delivery in Lagos State, particularly during the COVID-19 pandemic. Her work at the Lagos State Primary Healthcare Board and as CEO of Finnih Medical Center solidified her reputation as a key figure in healthcare management and emergency response. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together as we welcome to the platform Africa, Dr. Oreoluwa Finnih Awokoya. Could you make that louder, please? Thank you so much. You are welcome, ma'am.
Okay. So I'm not going to hold this so that I don't make a mistake and think it's a microphone. Luckily, I have no slides. And I say good morning, everybody. And to recognize the convener of this platform, Africa, Pastor Pojoye Made, with a big vision, a big heart, and clear direction as to where he's going. Ladies and gentlemen, my role this morning, very simple. To enlighten you on the possibility of crossing from private to public service, your role in governance, the opportunities, some of the challenges you may face, the importance of young people in public service, politics, and governance. And by then, hoping to solidify somebody's resolve to join public service. I'll begin with something very simple. Regardless of your social class, your level of education, your gender, you have a role to play in building the Nigeria and the Africa of your dreams. You may not have it all figured out yet. Unlike the Postmaster General, I wasn't really sure of what I wanted to do. But what was clear was that I wanted to contribute to the city, I wanted to contribute to the state of Lagos. I didn't arrive here as someone who had everything mapped out from the start. I'm standing here, a woman, born and raised in Lagos, in a family where integrity, service, and courage were ways of life. And psychologists tell you your family background will shape you, whether you are conscious of it or not. It is there. It is running at the back of your mind. You're either running towards something or away from something that happened in your family. My father was part of the Nadeko movement, one of the brave people who believed in democracy when activism was not a hashtag and politics wasn't a career move. It was a moral calling that could also get you killed at the time. That legacy shaped me. But my journey has also been uniquely mine. What was also clear to me by my 4th year in medical school was that I was not going to be a clinician. But you've gone more than halfway in a course of 6 years, and you have to finish it. But medical training teaches you to think logically. You have a patient in front of you, you ask them questions. After asking them questions, you examine them. After examining them, you send them for tests before you put all that together in a picture, and that training continues to serve me. I then went on to spend 12 years running Finnih Medical Center, a private healthcare practice that was established in 1983. But after 12 years, it began to feel like the same thing every day. It's the same thing every year on year on year. And it was then time for me, in my own opinion, to come into public service, contribute my quota, and make sure that I left a legacy within the state. So in 2016, I made a shift to public service. My first job in public service was as a medical officer. Specifically, I was the personal assistant to a permanent secretary. Then from 2019 to 2023, I served as the senior special assistant to the current governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, on health, and he deemed it fit. From 2013 to today, I serve as the special advisor on sustainable development goals. Thank you. This current role allows me to connect vision with structure, policy with people, and passion with purpose. And I'll tell you this, the Postmaster General has said a few things. Nothing prepares you for public service than being in public service. You will gain a lot of experience within the private sector. You are both strategists in the private sector, you execute. You can make a decision in the private sector this morning that I want to change the color of this room from cream to white. When you get into the public service, you write memo, you wait for approval, you look for the voucher, you look for, in between they will change your accountant, the new accountant will start from the beginning, but there's a reason why things work that way. Private sector pays precision performance. You're walking into public institutions, machinery moves much slower. Hierarchy is thick. Public service is almost like the military. Almost. It takes humility and it takes patience. You have to start over. Be willing to learn. No system is higher than the other. Private is not higher than public. I know a lot of people in the private sector have that opinion. What are they doing there? What do they know? It's a wrong opinion to have. You have to unlearn what you think you know, but it's worth it at the end. My very first hurdle was language. You'll be surprised. Maybe you're coming from private health to public health. It was a different. In public health, in the Ministry of Health, they speak in abbreviations. I was PA to somebody, so I was expected to take minutes, and I would go into a meeting. My very first meeting, they said the LIU and the CCU went to the OIC to collect RI. So I kept quiet. Yeah, I was very junior. I took the notes and I got back to the office. And the way the office is structured, the junior officers are in a general room. And so I called my colleagues, please, what is LIU? What is CCU? What is RI? And over time, I came to understand the language of public health. It was unexpected and a humbling challenge. The challenge I expected was workload or bureaucracy. That wasn't what, it was lingo. I was lost in translation. I remember I had to take minutes. I'll go to my desk, piece together the fragments, but I had great colleagues. And I think it's also your approach to your colleagues. They sat down, they taught me, and then beyond those meetings, they ensured that I was placed in positions where I could learn how Lagos worked quickly. I could learn the terrain of Lagos. A lot of us spend time where we live and where we work and in between. But Lagos, as small as it is also a very big, a very complex place, and my colleagues allowed me to know the interconnectivity of Lagos. An example I will give is like with data. The healthcare challenges vary from local government to local government. You'll be surprised. For some local governments, their immunization coverage is not as high as others. Why? Why do they have that challenge? It is local to them. The same thing for family planning. Why are some local governments uptaking more than others? But because of my relationship with my colleagues, I was able to understand Lagos from a healthcare perspective well. I didn't back away, I leaned in. I realized that to lead in public service is not enough to be an expert. You must become fluent in both the language of your discipline and the language of government. That learning process made me sharper, more collaborative. You cannot do it alone. You have stakeholders within government and outside government. You must learn to carry everybody along, otherwise you are dead in the water. I was determined to make sense of systems so I could eventually reform them. Like many relatively younger professionals across this continent, we've been underestimated, not for a lack of insight or capacity, but simply because of age in relation to the positions you occupy. You've walked into rooms where you're expected to take notes. You don't contribute ideas, you keep quiet and you listen. But I had ideas, fresh ones, grounded in real experience from the private sector, and I watched maybe more than once as some of those ideas got implemented, sometimes without credit, but with impact. I'll come back to that. So to every young African listening, those in the room, those online, you may not have all the answers right now. You may still be trying to figure out your path, but keep moving. No matter what you do, keep moving. Don't let the limits others place on you define the size of your ambition. Sit at the table, speak up, and if no one offers you a seat, bring your own chair and sit. Our Yoruba elders have a saying, "Agba kii wa loja, kori omo tuntun ko wo," and that translates loosely to say, when an elder is present in the market, the head of a newborn should not suffer. But I then ask, what happens when it's the youth that is carrying the wisdom to write the head of the child? What happens when our vision, our digital fluency, our sense of urgency, and our idealism become the missing pieces? But then, the same elders go on to say, "Ọmọdé gbọ́n, àgbà gbọ́n la fi dá Ilé Ifẹ̀," recognizing that the youth have a role to play in how Ilé Ifẹ̀ and all things are established. Wisdom does not reside in elders alone. It is only when we can all pitch in, youth and elders alike, that we can effectively achieve set goals. My journey in the private health sector wasn't just a job, it was an education. Every case revealed a painful truth. So many people suffer, not because solutions don't exist, but because they don't know where to find them, they can't afford them, and often, maybe the problem could even have been prevented from knowledge. They lack the knowledge. That period shaped me. It built a deep sense of empathy that I've carried into every room in my role in the public sector. In 2019, as Senior Special Assistant to the Governor on Health, I made it a priority to lead community-based health tours across Lagos. By the way, Lagos has hard-to-reach areas. Lagos has riverine areas, and it is estimated that 10% of the population of Lagos lives in these areas. So it is important to pay attention, and the government does pay attention to them. I wanted to listen, to see firsthand, connect them, what do they need in these places? It's different from those of you who live in Ikeja or in Surulere. What do they require in Igbo-Oshu? What do they require in Tafiawuri? So I listened to them, I saw what they needed, and for some of them was able to connect them with resources that could change their lives. It was also why in 2020, when I was appointed to lead the risk communication pillar for the Lagos COVID-19 response team, I threw myself wholeheartedly into the responsibility. Empathy for empathy's sake is useless. Empathy should drive policy. It must lead us to act. You see things that have gone wrong. Oh, wow, so sad. Then what? Then what? And then what is what drives policy is what should make you make a change. And that sense of responsibility to everyday people has never left me. It took courage for me to realize that being young and female is not a weakness. In fact, I now view it as a superpower because people underestimate you. And then when you come, they're like, oh, really? Okay. Yes, really? Okay. You know. Walking the corridors of government has taught me that proximity to power is not the same. It's not the same as the actual power to solve the problem. That you saw me, the governor was coming and I was somewhere behind him, does not mean that I have the power at that time to solve the problem. I started out as a health officer within public service. I could see the problems, but what could I do? I didn't have the tools to solve a lot of the problems. Then I became the senior special assistant on health, and that came with a little more ability to influence systems directly. But even as a medical officer, I could solve certain problems. I was put in charge of reproductive health, or what we call one of the components of which is family planning. For us in Lagos, routine immunization has been something that we have done fantastically well for years. We Lagos scores in the 90s. But for family planning, there was a little bit of a challenge. We were not doing as well. So I latched on to my colleague in routine immunization. I said, show me how you people getting it right. But one of the problems that came out of my visiting healthcare facilities was that when they are bundling everything you should use together for family planning, the commodities, which are the actual family planning materials, your injections, your implants, there were plenty. But your consumables, which are your gloves, your plaster, your sutures, they were not necessarily in the right ratio. So you would get to a facility where you will find the commodities, but no consumables to use those commodities. Whilst this bundle will come from federal, I then, with my colleagues, was able to advocate for a budget line to be put in the budget line of the MDA where I worked, and then we could also then buy our consumables, which helped to drive family planning further in Lagos. Small officer, small problem, maybe big impact, maybe. As SSA on health, next step, I saw another gap, this time, access to healthcare in our hard-to-reach riverine areas. Access was poor for the people there, so we went there, we took healthcare to them there. We brought care directly to people who had been waiting sometimes for months to be seen. But if you also have leadership within where you work that does not buy into whatever you're trying to do, you have, when you align your vision with theirs, they support you. And for this, I'm eternally grateful to my permanent secretary at that time. And of course, the governor of Lagos State, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, for listening to one small girl. You don't know, SSA, SA, medical officer. Sometimes they are low in the hierarchy, but they listen. If they don't listen, there's nothing you can do. They listen and then they support you to solve the problem because you've brought the problem to them. It wasn't just health. Because when you go to underserved areas, underservice cuts across the different parameters, whether it's health, whether it's education, whether it's jobs. So we saw a school there that was not doing so well structurally. And I didn't have the authority to fix it at the time. I brought it up with the local governments. There wasn't a quick response. But immediately I became special advisor. That school had been on my mind. I went back. I went back with the commissioners for education and other key stakeholders. I took them there so that they could see what I saw. And the school has since been renovated. The children have a chance to learn with dignity. These experiences taught me that young leaders, we bring a different lens, systems thinking, We connect the dots that others may miss, not because they don't know or they're not intelligent, but because sometimes when you've been in the same position, viewing from the same lens for a long time, you tend to miss things. Today, as essay on SDGs, my focus is on deepening that impact through data, collaboration, and ensuring that no community is left unseen. I want to talk about the challenges. Many of us are discouraged from public service, from governance, from politics. And there's a Yoruba proverb that says, "Bí a kò bá kọ́ ọmọ, ní kó mọ̀. A kọ́ ara ẹ̀ ní kó sùn." Meaning, if you really don't teach a person how to sit right, they will eventually just lie down and lose interest in whatever you're trying to teach them. The question is, what are we teaching? I'm sure you've heard the myths. You've heard them, and I insist that they are myths. Politics is dirty. They will kill you. You have to steal. When you get there, all politicians, they are thieves. You need voodoo to win, yes? Juju, they are all doing juju there. They are not myths alone, they are chains. Those chains crafted to keep you afraid, disengaged, quiet. But I'm here to tell you that there's another way. The idea that young people must sacrifice their values to be relevant in governance is a lie. It is a lie. Thank you. There is no system that is not flawed, whether you're in the private sector or in public service, but you are not powerless. Politics has its shadows, but shadows only exist because there is light. You cannot see a shadow when the room is dark. What no one tells you is that you don't need to belong to a political party to come into public service. What you need are mentors and a resolve. You need to be excellent at your craft. Leadership is not an appointment, it's a process, an accumulation of abilities, skills, capacities built over time. I want you here today to ask yourself, what problem can I solve? Every day you wake up and there's something that niggles at you, that is on your mind. What do you see every day? What do you have a solution for? That is your entry point. The most difficult part is getting involved, not because it's beyond your capacity, but because we have all been conditioned to wait for permission first and then also discouraged with fear. But once you take that first step, you realize you belong there. The public service is filled with young, vibrant people, and they are needed. More importantly, you are not alone. According to the Organization for World Peace, as of 2025, over 60% of Nigeria's population is under the age of 25. Do the math. Indicating a predominantly young populace, Africa can't afford to wait any longer. Our continent is the youngest in the world. If we do not claim our space now, we will inherit structures that no longer serve us. I've had the privilege of sitting with policymakers and watched the Lateef Jakonde Academy, which is a Lagos State institution. It molds thinkers into doers. I've worked behind the scenes, crafting some of the very strategies that shape healthcare system and sustainable development in Lagos State. I'm learning that the difference between chaos and transformation is often just clarity. You are seeing clearly the solution and you need courage. But let me share this with you. As a junior person in public service, you will bring in fresh ideas. A lot of them will be implemented, often without credit. But know that your contributions are being watched. People are watching you. They're always watching you. They are noted. More opportunities will be given to you to make contributions, and eventually you'll get the credit if that is what you're after. But the goal shouldn't be personal glory, it's about impact. And if you can change the system from inside, then let anyone take the credit so long as lives are changed. The various experiences didn't just teach me resilience, it reminded me that leadership isn't defined by titles or visibility, but by responsibility. That the true measure of impact isn't who gets mentioned, but who gets helped. As we grow, as we lead, we must do so with conviction, not ego, and with heart, not just hustle. Yoruba say, "Tomode ba shubu, awaju, tagbalagba ba shubu, aweyin." It means that when the youth stumble and fall, they tend to look forward. But when an elder falls, he looks back. He wants to see what tripped him up, and so that he doesn't fall at that spot again. Let the younger generation continue to look forward. Let's fall forward into purpose and participation and the promise of a better Africa. As I close, ladies and gentlemen, leadership and politics didn't start in government buildings. It started from the church, from our sacred spaces where stewardship and service were taught as divine duties. In scripture, Moses led, David governed, and Deborah judged. Leadership has always been spiritual. It's a call to serve, to persevere, to uplift. How can you serve? You can be the technical brain that crafts policy, the administrative aid that keeps systems moving. That was my path, from solving healthcare challenges to becoming a state advisor. I need to remind you all that social engineering is going on. We're all on our phones 24/7. If you are not paying for the products, the chances are that you yourself are the product. Algorithms shape what we see, what we feel, even what we believe. But here's the part we don't talk about enough. Resilience in the face of cancellation that the president faces almost every day and that the governor has been dealing with for the past 1 week. Misinformation, which has become a tool for confusion, and digital overwhelm. You need resilience. You need to step away from some of those devices. I find I spend a lot of time on social media, on X, to monitor, and I've done so for quite a while. Sometimes you're trying to teach, you're having teaching moments, and you think you're flowing with the person, trying to define that politics is different from governance, and so on and so forth. And then the next thing the person will say is, rest. You know, or rest is good, go warm a chop. So we need to pay attention to the things that will actually give us value, you know. It's easy to get distracted, but the truth is policy doesn't live on the timeline. It lives in frameworks, in council meetings, in project documents, in the slow, deliberate grind of governance. So I ask us all today, whilst we're watching on TikTok and all that, do you know your councillor? Do you know your local government chairman? Do you know how the decisions to site a road or a school are taken? A lot of those decisions require the public to give opinion. When they are taking those decisions, where are you? Where are you? If we are to lead, really lead, we must become wiser in how we consume and respond to information. We must learn to see through the fog, which is deliberate. We must learn to pause, to reflect, ask better questions, because in this era where attention is currency, focus becomes a form of resistance. And let me be clear, hope is naive, is not naive rather. Hope is revolutionary. So I charge you, fellow young Africans, get in the room, engage in governance, not just in protests, in policy, not just in hashtag, but in halls of power. There's hope, there's direction, there's a way. You are not too young, you are not too late, not too small. Don't wait for the right connection. Don't wait for the right surname. Continue to build your capacity, hone your skill, serve with excellence wherever you are. That is your calling card. And remember, Ijaki Bolaya Kikoju, real warriors don't run from battle. The battle to reclaim Africa's future is ours. Let your story be the spark that lights another flame. Let your passion be the pressure that pushes systems to evolve. In the end, our vision of perfect development is possible. It requires sacrifice, it requires discipline, and it requires hope to be alive. I see it, I see you. The future is not just ahead of us, the future is inside us. Thank you very much for listening.